Hello everybody, my name is Micah, and today we're making something super sweet. Since it's been blisteringly cold out, literally negative 20 degrees with wind chill, I thought we'd make something warm and cozy, like a pie. But not just any pie, because what's more warm and cozy than a long extinct marine reptile? No? Just me? Okay, well, we're doing it anyway! Now it's time to look at our design, but today we're doing it in a whole new way. Instead of looking at a turnaround, we're looking at a coloring page. This is this month's coloring page over on my Patreon. And I thought this was a great way to show off the design for the pie Mosasaurus. I personally suggest coloring it while you watch this video for maximum coziness, but you do you. Now for the actual design process. To be honest, I didn't finish the design until after I made the plushie. I know that's an awful idea, and it will come back to bite me, I promise you that. But for now, let's focus on how cute they are. Look like they'd swim around on scent lines like in old cartoons. Except for the fact that they are the ones making those sweet scent lines, instead of following it with their nose. I really wanted to encapsulate the vibes of a freshly baked pie with this plushie, so I made sure to include various pie-related staples, like the little cutouts at the top of the pie, and the cross-hatching on the flippers. Oh, and I can't believe I forgot! I never introduced you all. This is Crumble. They use they them pronouns with a sprinkling of she her in there sometimes too. I think I might have used he him pronouns over at the desk while I was making them, but that was before I got a good grasp on who this little friend was. I know it may seem a little silly talking about the pronouns of a plushie, but I like it and I know I'd feel included and seen if I saw that in a video, so I'm doing it. They are a non-binary pastry themed marine reptile and we love them for that. Whew, okay, well with all that out of the way and our design done, I'm gonna send you on over to the desk to get started on this plushie. Alright, day one of the Mosasaurus project. And of course we have to start off by checking out the prototype. Ta-da! So this here is our prototype. It's not terrible, but there was some stuff I needed to change before we could start the project today, which took me like an hour. Funny little side note, I actually don't know the full design of this plushie yet. Like, I'm trying to map out ideas on here, but I really don't know what I want it to have in the end. We're just gonna have to cross our fingers and hope for the best. One really silly thing I want to point out is that while this eye looks very nice, this eye does not. And that is because I did not properly read my pattern. Yes, I am the one who made it, but I didn't listen to my notes. Or more so, I just forgot to listen to my notes. I just read it wrong. There were two different lines and I lined it up with the far line and it was supposed to be the close line. Doesn't matter. Point is, listen to your patterns, kids. They will always know better than you. Now, let's get to cutting out our pieces. First things first, the fabric. We'll be using a little bit of minky for the pie crust, but only on the top. Then this luxurious red fur for the filling. We want a nice cherry pie after all. And we've got that same fur in tan for the bottom of the pie. And everything except for the minky was bought for different projects. We are on a budget here, people. Our patrons are leaving us left and right. So let's cut out our pieces. Okay, that was quite a bit of work, but it's all cut out now. Seriously, I feel like people underestimate, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I just underestimate how much work cutting out pieces is. Oh yeah, and the Band-Aids, there was a mishap with the rotary cutter. You were in timeout, young man. Go to your room. Anyway, with this done, let's get to pinning. Okay, I've got everything pinned that I can pin for now, and this is already looking delicious. Like, this feels like it is a graham cracker crust, and I want to eat it. But I can't, it's fabric. So, moving on. I have to do a bunch of this cross-hatching stuff on the flippers and the top of the tail. So basically, I have this template here. I'm gonna sew around it in these tiny little squares, and then I'm gonna have to cut off all the extra. It'll be a lot of work, but I think it'll turn out really nice in the end. As long as I don't accidentally cut all the fur as I'm cutting, that would be an issue. I'll just have to be really careful. I hope you don't mind me popping in real quick. I promise it's important. What I'm doing here is called applique, where you sew fabric details on top of your base piece of fabric. The tough thing about applique though is the way I know how to do it, it can limit the stretch of your fabric. Usually when done in small enough patches, it doesn't really affect the outcome of the plush. But when done in big patches like this, it can really mess stuff up if you're not careful. It can help to cut away the base fabric underneath the applique, but you have to be very careful when doing that. If it then comes undone, you kind of just have a gaping gaping hole into the plushie. And sometimes there's not enough fabric to properly close it back up again. So it's kind of a gamble either way, and you have to choose what's going to be best for the project you're currently working on. What I decided was best for this project was to leave that double layer of fabric. Because this fur is so slippery and prone to holes, I didn't really want a chance cutting away the back fabric. Better safe than sorry, you know? But a change in the stretch might not actually be an issue here because the flippers don't need much stretch in the first place. So even if they were constricted, I don't think it'd be that noticeable. Now with that little sewing tip worry thing out of the way, I'll send you on over to the desk to keep working on that plushie. Okay, we got a lot of work done, but there's still a lot more to do. So as you can see, I already went ahead and did a couple of the flippers just to see how it would turn out. It's a little different than I expected, but pretty much the same. So I did the front flippers and one of the back ones, but I still need to do the other back one and the tail. And now you'll get to see how I do that. Okay, I'm gonna have to pop in real quick to explain the sudden end to day one of this project. Remember how I said the whole not having the design fully planned out thing was gonna come back to bite me? Well, this is the first instance of that. At this point, I hadn't decided if I was gonna give our little Mosasaur friend external teeth. And then without thinking, I just sewed the mouth shut, which means I wouldn't be able to put any hypothetical teeth into the mouth anyway. Legitimately, at this point, I thought I was either gonna have to completely remake the head pieces or sit there seam ripping the mouth apart for who knows how long. I just had so much mental strain trying to figure all this out, and I was losing my light really fast. I just had to leave it for the next day. I honestly thought I could finish this whole project in just one day. I mean, the prototype only took 2 hours, but with the fur and all the extra details, it ended up taking a lot longer than expected. But the time away from the project was exactly what I needed. The next day, I was right back to work, no problem, after deciding to not add the teeth in after all. So remember, if you're ever stuck on something, whether it's a project like mine, schoolwork, a regular old life problem, take a step back, don't think about it for a while, and you may just find the solution. As for day 2 of this project, we gotta finish this baby up. We'll finish those last remaining details like the eyes and tail spikes, and then put the whole thing together. We shall have pie by the end of the night. It is law!
It is prophecy! By prophecy!
Let's get to work. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna have to pin little pieces here so that we can have some pieces of red pie sticking out of the top crust. And then also we're gonna have to do a lot of pinning to get the eye markings done here because they are gonna be embroidered and it takes a lot of measuring to get embroidery done. At least when you're me. So I'll show you all that, then I'll show you the embroidery while I work on the crust off camera. So let's get to work. Okay, with this all mapped out, let's head on over to the embroidery machine. And now we embroider. Okay, let's get it out of the hoop. Ooh, lovely. Now let's make 2 of them. There we go. And we're not gonna talk about this. We'll never speak of this again. This doesn't exist. Moving on. Next, I'm gonna cut out our little pie crust cutouts and pin the crust together, and then we can get to sewing again. So stuck. Like, not with the actual plushie, like, I could make this plushie no problem. It's the design that's getting me. Because I did not actually come up with a full design for this yet. I know I keep saying it over and over and over again, but that's because it keeps being a problem over and over and over again. So, like, we have the pie crust done for the top of the plush, and I think it's super cute. I might sew around in a circle here just to give it more of a pie-like look. But what I'm stuck on is I keep feeling like it just needs a little extra something, but I don't know what that something is. So I tried to look at things from a different angle. So I like took a picture from a weird angle and I was like, okay, wait, maybe it's okay. And then I look at it from another angle again. I'm like, oh, maybe it's not. So I just have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And I don't want to go too far just in case what I need to do is something I need to do while the plushie can lay flat. So I might take a bit to think on it, and I'm gonna have Standing Micah tell you what I ended up doing. See, this is why you always make a plan before starting a project. You're lucky you're me, otherwise you'd be in a whole lot of trouble right now, buddy. As for what I ended up doing, to combat the feeling of something being missing, quick whipped up some whipped cream to add a dollop to our little friend's head, and we were good to go. I still think adding a little more texture here and there would have been nice, but at this point I was out of time and out of materials. So this was gonna have to be good enough. Next up, we're gonna finish up that pie crust and then start putting this little sea puppy together. Now off to the desk. Okay, we are getting somewhere. And this is the point in any fur-based project that I need to remind myself that when there is this much fur, it is very hard to sew things correctly. But because there is this much fur, it doesn't really matter. Like if we look at the inside of this head, this is not really what it's supposed to look like. But because there is so much fur, you can't really tell that it doesn't look right. And yeah, sometimes you can tell. But if it is close enough on the inside, then you won't be able to tell on the outside like you could with minky or fleece or something. Now, with that little tidbit out of the way, let's get to pinning. We gotta get the two body pieces together, and then we can attach the head and the belly, and this is gonna go really, really quick. But let's just get to it. Oh my gosh, I almost did it again. I almost forgot about the tag. This is where I need to put the tag in, and I almost forgot about it, but I didn't. I have it here, but that was kind of a fluke. I really need some kind of alarm or alert, like it's tag time, put the tag in. Oh boy, this project would have been a bad one to miss the tag on too. All this fur, it is impossible to cleanly get it undone and redone to put the tag in. Okay, let's get back to work. Okay, the sun is going down, but the skin is done. Well, just about. I still need to do a couple things on the inside to make the stuffing process work a little better. And I'll have Standing Micah explain to you what all that is. Okay, you all know what a dam is, right? Keeps the water where you want it to be. Well, that's essentially what I'm gonna be doing on this plushie. We want the flippers to be nice and floppy while the body stays relatively tightly stuffed. Of course, one could do this by pre-stuffing the flippers and putting them in a seam, but then you don't have access to them after they're on. And it'll be a hassle to even get them on, since it'll be like sewing a fully stuffed plushie with all the limbs on the inside like that. Plus, all the flippers would have to be smooshed flat. I want the front ones to be round, like they have a ball and socket joint. So we'll be building those dams instead. Because of how the back two flippers are sewn on, they won't need dams, but the front two and the tail will. With the front two flippers, I'll actually be making somewhat of an indented dam, so that the top of the flipper can stay relatively structured while the rest of it's nice and floppy. It's kind of like putting another plushie inside of this plushie. You can feel the little ball here, but on the outside, it just looks like one regular flipper. Pretty neat, huh? Now that all that's done, you can head back to the desk to finish up this project. All right, time to turn this cutie right side too. Okay, that was ridiculously hard. I made the stuffing hole way too small, and now my wrist and fingers and everything hurts. I am going to feel this so badly in like 20 minutes. It's already not good. But let's try and get this done before we get to that point, which means it's bean time. Alright, now let's get to hand sewing. The only thread we need for this project is a little bit of tan, a little bit of red, and a tiny bit of white. Let's start off with the red so that we can close up the plushie. There we go, now that they're all sewn up, let's work on this pie crust. First we gotta close up this end bit, then tack it down onto the body. And now for the cherry on top. Well, I guess more like whipped cream on top. And lastly, let's top it off with a bow. And there we go. Now, I think it's time for some glamour shots. Before we get to those tasty glamour shots, I want to say a huge thank you to every single one of my patrons. On screen, you'll see my Pixie tier and above patrons who get an extra special shout out in every single one of my videos. We've been really low on patrons lately, so I'm probably gonna have to start scaling back my projects for a little bit. That is because I do not currently make any money off of these videos. I just do them because I really like making these plushies and I really like sharing them with you all. But without the funding I need to make them, things are gonna have to get smaller and cheaper. So you'll still see some bigger projects coming up in the future because I already have the fabric for them. Things that I would need to order new fabric to make, I probably won't be able to make them right now. So if you'd like to support the channel and help make these videos possible, make sure you check out patreon.com/SewMicah. You get really cool benefits over there like phone backgrounds, coloring pages, exclusive videos, and the ability to affect what I make over here. But Patreon's not the only way you can help this channel out. If I could start making ad revenue off of these videos, that would be amazing and mean that I could actually start making some really great videos for you all. That funding would go towards fabric, new equipment, things like a better camera, better microphone, everything to just make things better for you. And ways that you can help me start making ad revenue would be things like watching the video all the way through, sharing the video, giving it a like, commenting. And one really important thing that I don't think a lot of YouTubers talk about, watching another one of my videos after you finish this one. YouTube sees that and they go, oh my gosh, this person really likes this channel. Maybe I should show it to more people. And in case all that wasn't enough for you, I want to go back to doing more giveaways. Right now, I just kind of can't. I don't have enough money coming in. But with enough support from you guys, it could happen again soon. But I'm kind of rambling at this point. I think you have waited long enough. Okay, actually I forgot to say this before, but we're doing glamour shots a little differently this time. Instead of showing the glamour of the plushie as in like it just looks really good, I want to show the glamour of how a plushie can make you feel. So these glamour shots are just gonna be a little bit different. And now it is time for some glamour shots. time for a debrief. Surprisingly enough, this project took 8 hours, 6 minutes, and 43 seconds. I really thought it'd be faster, seeing as the prototype only took 2 hours to make. I guess that's what you get when you use fur and add an absurd amount of details. Honestly, time aside, Crumble has quickly become one of my favorite plushies to have around with me. They're perfect for while I'm working because they lay on my lap like a cat or a weighted blanket. Totally out of the way, but with all the comfort and cuteness of any other one of my plushies. And hey, if you like this project, make sure you check out my last fur-based project where I turned my real-life cat into a plushie. No, wait, that made it sound like it's a taxidermy video or something. It's not, it's, okay. Just check it out, you'll see what I mean. We're done.